Welcome to this free immigration help channel. Today is May 9, 2024, and we are getting into the volume 205 of me answering your immigration related questions. As always, before beginning this video, I'm gonna mention, as I mentioned in every video on this channel, I am not an immigration attorney. This is not legal advice. All the information provided in these videos on this channel are directly from official government sources like USCIS and of course the Department of State with their visa bulletin, which is currently on June 2024 visa bulletin. Just recently came out. I've done a video on it yesterday, so if you have not seen the updated visa bulletin yet, make sure to check that video out. Okay, let's start with the very first comment. Question from Nadine Parkinson. Nadine, thank you very much for another comment. As you can see, Nadine is one of the top commenters on the channel. When NVC approved your expedite expedite request, how long it take to send out your interview date? Okay, so Nadine, great question. Thank you for asking. So whenever it comes to the expedite request, basically what happens when NVC approves the expedite request, they send that approval notification of the expedite request to the US Embassy where the interview is going to be scheduled. And they request them to try to accommodate and see if they can. So at the end of the day, it's still at the discretion of the US Embassy where the interview is going to be scheduled. But now, since the US Embassy knows that NVC approved the expedite request, they try to fit in that interview really as soon as they can fit it in. So for example, if there is an opportunity, if there is some kind of cancellation, or if there is a window with extra time that they can fit in somebody, in your case, whoever on your I-130 petition got approved for expedited processing, they try to fit in sooner. Now, again, there isn't no particular timelines how long it's going to take now, but usually it takes a lot faster, and it can be literally within the next months you can have the interview. If you would be waiting, let's say, for another 6 months, for another year, typically for an interview to be scheduled, you can have your interview scheduled within a month, sometimes even less. And a lot of times I've noticed for people that get their expedite requests approved, they actually get notification from US Embassy, and US Embassy asks them if they can work with them on a certain date, if this works, if that works, because they try to schedule it as soon as possible and they don't want to do any cancellations or anything like this. So couple of things to look out for is either call or an email directly from the US Embassy, and them basically working directly with whoever the beneficiary is, working to schedule that interview as soon as possible. But that's really what the expedited request does. Again, there is no specific timelines for the expedited request for the interviews, but it can be really soon. It can be a couple weeks, it can be a week, it can be a month, it can be longer. Again, it depends on the US Embassy. But yeah, that's a huge plus. If your expedited request got approved, I mean, it's fantastic. It's really good news. Okay, let me post a response here and we're gonna move on to the next question from JQC Healthy Fit. When will my spouse and son be here? Priority date November 2022, F2A, Philippines. And when to be approved by USCIS? It's been 1.5 years, no approval from USCIS. I see, so your I-130 petition is still with USCIS. Okay, so let's take a look at the visa bulletin and see what approximately the weight is for Philippines chargeability area for F2A. So I'm gonna scroll down to the graph A, and we got Philippines current with the rest of the world, which is good news, November 2021. And you are in November 2022. Okay, so you have exactly 1 year as of right now, as of the most recent visa bulletin for June 2024, for the backlog, for the availability of the immigrant visa. Now, the next question, which is a really good question about when the USCIS petition will be approved, the I-130 part of it, the very first stage, it really depends on how much more backlog is left. And usually USCIS, they get to the petitions that are closer to the availability of the immigrant visa. But I want to take a look at the graph B and see when the NVC portals are usually opening up. And it looks like they are on September 2023 for Philippines, and you're 2022. So your I-130 should have already been, I'm pretty sure it should have been already approved, because as you can see, you are almost a year overdue for the NVC portal opening up so that you can start your documentary qualification process. So as of right now, you should be going through the documentary qualification process, because the availability of the immigrant visa is within a year from you. But it's no reason to stress out, because I'll tell you why. Because we have seen in the past couple of months, with the past couple visa bulletin editions, we have seen a very significant movement for the F2A. F2A is just now catching up. So the availability of immigrant visas catching up. But the USCIS side, it seems like they're experiencing a little bit of a delay. So what I would recommend you do, it might not even work, it might not do anything, but I still suggest you try doing it, is submit a case inquiry through USCIS website. And I'll show you how to do that. This is the official government website for USCIS, and you probably are familiar with it. But you can find it in the tools. And let's see if we have it right here. Check case status online, check case processing times. No, it's not here. Of course, they wouldn't put it here. They don't want to make it readily available for people, but it should be once you click on check case processing times, and I will put the link for you so you can access it directly. But for everyone who's watching this, if you want to find how to submit a case inquiry, click on the tools, click on the check case processing times, and then from this page right here, inquire about a case outside normal processing times. Now, the reason why I said it might not work for you is because, unfortunately, this system for case inquiries relies on the check case processing times that are listed on the USCIS websites. And they're not, first of all, they're not updated as often as they should be. They're not as accurate as they should be. So for example, I'll tell you exactly what I'm talking about. Like, for example, petition I-130, that's what we're dealing with. Category, you're a permanent resident, so permanent resident filing for spouse or child under 21. Field office, whichever field office you select, where your petition is being processed, and if you need to know that information, you can find it on the original notice of receipt that you received from USCIS acknowledging that they received your case. So wherever it's processing, select that. For example, let's say if it's in Texas Service Center, get processing times, 35.5 months. Now that's not accurate. And the reason why it's not accurate is because if we look at the visa bulletin, we see that the availability of immigrant visa is about, well, actually for Texas it's not bad. It's pretty close for Texas, because as of right now, it's about 3.5 years. So Texas seems like they got it right. But if we select, let's say California is a little bit more, but again, it's not very accurate. Let's see old field offices. See what it tells us. 79 months. Yeah, this is way too much. So this is definitely not correct. So the processing times, they are not very accurate, and they're not updated as often as needed. So when you're submitting that case inquiry, it might tell you that you are not outside the processing times yet. And if that happens, I would recommend giving them a call directly and getting to the representative. It will take a long time because you have to go through a lot of prompts, but you can get to a live representative and talk to them and say, hey, I've been waiting, and the availability of the immigrant visa is within a year, but my petition haven't been even approved yet. So if you're not able to do that, definitely give them a call. But I'm gonna put this page right here so that you can try to do that. And if you have any questions along the way, do not hesitate to come back and ask them here on this channel. So link, and there you go. That is your link for the case inquiry on USCIS website. All right. let's move on to the next one. Let me copy this. All right, Faisal Tahiru says, thank you for the update. Faisal, you're very welcome. Thank you for watching. Moving further to Raja Abdullah 9990. Raja, thank you very much for being publicly subscribed. Appreciate that. So Raja says, my sister filed F4 application in 2017. How much I have to wait? So depending on your chargeability area, and we're going to look at all chargeability area. So F4 as of right now is on July 2007. And your sister filed a petition in 2017. So as of right now, Raja, you still have about 10 years left of the backlog to wait for the availability of the immigrant visa. And I know it's a long time, and I can definitely relate because I have a F4 petition, petition in F4 category as well, waiting for my brother, and I still have another 12, 13 years to wait. So yeah, F4 is one of those categories with really crazy long times, unfortunately. So Gurvinder Singh says F4, I guess it's some other, I'm not sure, but it's in 2005, and there's something about interview. So I'm assuming Gurvinder had already the interview scheduled because they are 2 years ahead on the visa bulletin, which means they're definitely current for 2 years now. So yeah, that sounds like a perfect time for the interview. And then this category taking forever, yeah, it does. So let me post the response here. And Gurvinder, if I understand correctly, you already had your interview scheduled, so I really appreciate the update. All right, moving further to, unfortunately no name, sorry, user. After filing out the IA-24, do you need to fill out the typographical error? Do you need to fill out the typographical error? I'm not sure what you mean. Fill out the typographical error. I'm gonna ask you to please clarify your question because I need more info. Because I'm not sure typographical error. Have you made a typographical error in your IA-24? Doesn't sound like it. Okay, please clarify your comment. All right, let's move on to the next one from Amin Shalin 671. I filed for my son in F2B category after I became citizen, and before NVC changed his petition to F1, he requested to remain in F2B category, and his request was accepted and remained in F2B category. Now F1 is moving faster than F2B for final action. Can he again go back to F1 category? I mean, great question. Thank you for asking. So that's a great example. Whenever it comes to the difference between F1 and F2B, it's a hit and miss because sometimes this is moving faster, sometimes this is moving faster. And I mean, honestly, there is no guarantee that after changing from F2B to F1, then next month you log into the visa bulletin, it's not going to be the other way around because it's really like a lottery. But let's take a look at the visa bulletin and compare. So right now the F2B is on April 2016 and July, and F1 is on July 2015. Huh. Interesting. Unless you're from Philippines. Wait a second. Are you from Philippines? Well, you didn't say which chargeability area you're from, but looks like for Philippines, it is doing better for F1 rather than F2B. You see how strange these two categories are? F1 is doing worse for all chargeability. It's doing worse for China. It's doing worse for India. It's doing worse for Mexico. But for Philippines, and I'm positive you're from Philippines now because yeah, for Philippines it's doing better than the F2B. And it was a just recent update that came out. I'm pretty sure in May that wasn't the case, but let me take a look at May because I'm kind of curious to see what's going on for May. All right, May, there you go. 2024. Maybe I typed it in. Because I typed it with capital. There we go. Okay, so May. No, it was also the same in May. Let's see. Let's check out April. I'll check out one more just to see how long ago. Because it really Yeah, no, it's doing better in April as well. So, well, depending on how long it's been doing better, I would say if it's been doing better for at least the past, well, you can see that it's been doing at least for the past 3 months. For the past 6 months, if it was doing better, then I'd say it's pretty consistent. So if it is, when is your priority date? So you didn't say when your priority date is. I would take a look at when your son's priority date is and see for how long it's been doing better. The F1 was doing better than F2B. If the priority date, if it's almost current, and if you're very close to it, to interview being scheduled, to the immigrant visa being available, I honestly would not bother changing it, because you might create more delay unnecessary, because now you're sending a request to the NVC to take a look and change the category, update the category, and so far so forth. I wouldn't bother. But if there is still at least a year for the priority date to become current, more than a year, yeah, for sure, then yeah, definitely reach out, because it seems like, what is it, October, so you got October, November, it's the end of October, so November, December, January, February, and then March. So 5 months it's doing better. So if there is still about a year left, yes, of course it is worth it to update it from F2B to F1, because you're gonna save 5 months of wait time. So yeah, definitely worth it. And in order to do that, all you have to do is reach out to the NVC through the public inquiry form and let them know. Just say, hey, they might say it's at their discretion, because they already sent you the, you already kind of made a selection first time to remain in the F2B, but they do, because after all, you are a US citizen, so yeah, your son technically does belong in the F1 category, so they should accommodate it. So yeah, just submit a public inquiry form. I'll put the link in my comment in the response. Let's see, so I'll put the link for the public inquiry form, and for everyone who is interested on how to find that public inquiry form for the NVC, just click on the Visa Bulletin link in the description of this video. It will open up this page right here, and from this page we're gonna click on Contact Us right here. I'm gonna open it in a new tab, and then from this page we're gonna click on US Visas Contacts right here. From this page, we'll scroll down a little bit more, and you will see right here, email, public inquiry form. So click on that, some more scrolling down, and then you will see this line says online immigrant visa inquiries only, public inquiry form. So click on this, and it will open up this public inquiry form where you will put your case number, NVC case number, or USCIS receipt number if you don't have NVC case number yet. Principal applicant's full name is going to be beneficiary's name, beneficiary's date of birth, petitioner's full name, who you are, beneficiary, petitioner, email address, and then in your inquiry, in your case, you'll just type out and say, hey, my name is this and that. I'm writing to you in regards to this case. I'm a US citizen, and I wanted to upgrade my son's category from F2B to F1, and you can attach your naturalization certificate right here, send it in. And again, like I said, it's at the discretion of NVC now whether they will accommodate you on this or not, because again, the selection was already made, but technically they should be able to do that. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Norris Stephenson. Good day, my brother. Just want to let you know that you're doing a great job and you're helping a lot of people. I'm from Jamaica and you're spot on with your prediction. Awesome. F1 priority date 12 February 2015, documentarily qualified August 26, 2020. I received an email on the 26th of April telling about my documentarily qualification, and today, 8th of May, I got another email with my interview date for June. Awesome. In February, you predict that I will get my interview letter in the middle of this year, and you're correct. Norris, I really appreciate your comment. Thank you very much for the update, and I'm gonna write it down. Let's see, you are from Jamaica, so Jamaica 2015 F1, so F1 2015 interview May, well, you scheduled in June, I'll put for June 2024. Thank you so much, Norris. I really appreciate your update. For me personally, it's great to hear that what I'm doing is helpful, but it's also helpful for everyone who watches these videos, especially people in Jamaica. They're definitely gonna thank you because, well, that's the best way to tell when your interview is scheduled. Because your priority date might be current, but that does not mean that you know exactly where your interview is going to be scheduled. Sometimes the embassies, depending on where the US embassy is, sometimes they have it on their website listed how long approximately they wait. Sometimes they don't. Most of the times that they have listed is very, very generic and useless, basically, for the most part. So the best way to find out how long you will be waiting for that interview to be scheduled after your immigrant visa is available is from people like Norris who already had their interview scheduled. So now you can take a look at, especially if you're an F1 category, that is super helpful. As you can see, Norris had his priority date in February 2015, and if we look at the F1, it's July 2015. So Norris been current now for roughly about February 2015 to July 2015. That is February, March, April, May, June. So like 4 or 5 months, roughly. And again, it's a rough estimate because Visa Bulletin does not always move 1 month every month. Sometimes it moves more than 1 month. Sometimes it doesn't move at all. Sometimes it retrogresses, which is definitely not good. But as you can see, it's not always a consistent movement. So it's really hard to tell how long a person been, current, how long their immigrant visa was available just by looking at the Visa Bulletin. That's why it's so helpful to know. So Norris, definitely appreciate it, and I want to invite everyone who had their interview scheduled. Please, if you had your interview scheduled, just type it in, your priority date, your category, where your interview was scheduled, which US embassy, in which country, and how long you've been waiting after your priority date became current. That is extremely helpful, and I have the list actually in front of me. I started writing down, and I will have, for each country, I'll try to keep an updated list for each category, and if there is a comment, I can look at it and refer and say, okay, so according to so far what we have from people commenting from the country, this is the wait. Okay, let's move on. I'm gonna put the response here. Your comment has been answered. Thank you for not for asking. Thank you for the update. There you go. So it makes sense. Norris, once again, really appreciate it. All right, moving further to sun and stars, getting closer, little by little. we are all waiting. We're all immigrants, waiting for that Visa Bulletin moving forward. All right, moving further to Nicola Lynch. Nicola, thank you very much for being publicly subscribed to this channel. Appreciate it. So Nicola says, my priority date, 3rd October 2010, F3. What should I expect? All right, so let's take a look. I'm going to look at all chargeability area. So F3, you are in October 10. So F3 currently is on March 2010. So that means that you still have roughly, but you have about, so we have March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. So roughly about 6-7 months before your immigrant visa becomes available, before your priority date becomes current. And again, that is assuming that you're from all chargeability area or China or India, and that the Visa Bulletin keeps moving 1 month every month. And it not always does. Sometimes it doesn't move at all. So it can be more, it can be less, depending on, but if it's consistent 1 month every month, roughly you have another 6 to 7 months before the immigrant visa becomes available. After the immigrant visa becomes available, that's when the US Embassy starts working on scheduling your interview. And again, it is heavily dependent on where that US Embassy is, on which country you're from, and what the immigration flow basically is. So if there's a heavier immigration traffic, you're gonna be waiting longer. Like for example, countries like India, Philippines, they have wait times after the immigrant visa becomes available as long as 2.5 years in certain categories, people waiting for their interviews to be scheduled. But some countries where there's not as much immigration flow, like for example, I know now for a fact because I had an update from commenters who shared there, for example, Nairobi, Kenya, after the availability of immigrant visa, just over a year people are waiting. So it will be, dependent on which country you're from, but on average, I would say the countries that are not busy immigration, it's about a year wait. Heavier immigration, about 2 years. So yeah, you still have definitely at least another year and a half before the interview. But the good news is that you're pretty close to the availability of your immigrant visa, and you've been waiting for a very long time. So that's definitely definitely great news. All right, let's move on to the next one. Meena Singh. Hi, Mr. Free Immigration. Just want to let you know I appreciate for your work you put out there, and thank you for your answer on volume 192, and good luck to all those who is waiting on immigration answer from Trinidad. Bless. Meena, thank you very much. Appreciate your kind words. Let's move on to the next one from Nadine Parkinson. Nadine says, good evening, my son. Priority date is September 25, 2020. I expedited it so I can get his interview date early. Can you please tell me how long it take NVC to send out interview date when you expedite the NVC? Approve the expedite date today, 8 May 2024. All right, Nadine. So you definitely had your expedite request already approved. So congratulations. That is fantastic. That is really, really good news. So NVC is gonna send it, if they haven't sent it already, the notice to the US Embassy where the interview is going to be processed. They're going to let them know that there is an expedited request that has been approved for this case to schedule the interview as soon as possible. And like I've answered earlier, it's going to depend on the US Embassy and their schedule. But I would be by the phone. I would check the email every day, because sometimes they do reach out either through the phone or through the email to work with the beneficiary to accommodate them as soon as possible. Basically, if there is a little opening somewhere, they try to stick it in there in between there, and this is really what the expedite request does. It makes them work to schedule the interview as soon as possible. And the only way they can do it, because all the slots are already busy, is if there is some kind of cancellation, somebody didn't show up, somebody who is, so it can be quite a last minute. They might call and say, hey, if you can get the medical examination done within the next 5 days, we can schedule you in a week. This can happen. So I would definitely recommend, another thing I would add here is definitely your son do the research where the civil surgeon is, the people, the medical that do the medical examination, the doctors, and reach out and see how long, if they have a line, if they have a list to wait. Don't schedule anything yet, obviously, because you need to wait for the interview to be scheduled. But just to see how much it costs, where they are, so that you're prepared. Once the interview is scheduled, you can go quickly and take care of that medical examination. But congratulations, Nadine. That's a big thing for sure. Getting your expedited request approved, that is definitely a huge, huge plus. Okay, let's move on to the next one from Michael Guardian 9898. Hi, my name is Mike. F2A and priority date is November 8, 2021. When do you think is my interview? From Philippines. Thank you and more power. Mike, thank you so much. Let's take a look at the visa bulletin. So F2A, and you're from Philippines. So F2A Philippines currently on November 2021, which is good news because it's current with the rest of the world. And you are in November 2021. Okay. All right. So yeah, you're November 8th, and right now it's on November 15. So you are current. Your immigrant visa is already available. That's the great news. Not such fantastic news is because you're from Philippines and it's a country with a heavier immigration flow. I mean, after all, Philippines have their separate chargeability area. It does take quite some time for the interview to be scheduled. And as I've mentioned earlier, you probably heard some of the people in Philippines, as judging from the comments, they're waiting as long as 2.5 years in some categories for the interview to be scheduled. That's not an indication that this is how long you will be waiting for, because again, it depends on the category. and you're F2A. F2A category is given a little bit more priority because it is children and spouses of permanent residents. So it might be faster than that. But what I would recommend you do is give it another at least 4 or 5 months, maybe even 6 months, and then reach out to the US Embassy in Philippines, in Manila, Philippines, and I'll put the link in the description below, and ask them. Say, hey, I'm F2A, I have been current now on the visa bulletin for 6 months, and I want to know if my interview has been scheduled already, and if it was, when it was scheduled for. They don't always give you that information. Sometimes they can, if you get a nice person on the phone, if you're nice on the phone yourself, professional, polite, they can sometimes look into your schedule. I mean, they're scheduling at your date and tell you your date, personalized, and say, hey, yes, you are scheduled for this. It's an unofficial announcement, so you're gonna get your interview notice 30 days before the actual interview. But a lot of times they can tell you, well, for F2A category, approximately the wait time right now is 2 years. And then you're gonna know approximately how long you will be waiting for. In both cases, it's pretty good information. So I'm gonna post my response. Don't be upset if they don't tell you anything. But again, you do have a little bit of time. I'm gonna post the link for the US Embassy in Manila, Philippines. Scroll down to P. And for everyone, if you are looking for information for your US Embassy in your country, this is the website where you can find all of them. usembassy.gov. So you scroll down to your country name, in this case, Philippines, click on it, and there you go, US Embassy in Manila, and there you go, their phone number. Again, always, if you're calling, if you're talking to any government agency, always be polite, always be professional, and if they tell you no, don't try to argue with them, just say, it's all right, I understand, thank you so much, have a good day, and that's it. That's the best that you can do. You try. All right, let's move on to the last comment for today from DD24. Hi, sir. Good day. For always your explanation. Why is it that the backlog that has hold up things like updating it for a month, rather doing it in every 2 weeks to speed up the process? I see what you mean. But they wait till a full month. That is making the backlog pile the most. Yeah, it's really hard to tell. Whenever it comes to the visa bulletin, it's really hard to tell why a certain category is moving faster. Well, I mean, certain categories, yes, it's understandable. Like, for example, F2A compared to all the other categories, yes, it is understandable because it's children and spouses of permanent residents. It's a step down from the IR, basically, the immediate relative category, because we're talking about children and spouses. So that category is always going to be moving further. Now, how much is going to be moving further? It really depends on the amount of immigrant visas that are issued. So if there is more immigrant visas that are issued in a month, all right, then the applications that have been submitted for that particular year, the visa bulletin is catching up. If there is less, if there's more applications than immigrant visas issued, visa bulletin is piling up with the backlog. All right. So when you see the visa bulletin move ahead 3 months in a month, that means there were enough immigrant visas issued to catch up with the 3 months worth of backlog. The other way around, obviously, less immigrant visas issued to catch up with the amount of backlog. So for each category, as you can see, and depending on the chargeability area, as you can see, it's going to vary very heavily, because really it comes down to the US Embassy, how fast, how many immigrant visas they can schedule, immigrant interviews they can schedule, how many immigrant visas basically they can issue. Again, there is a cap that we're dealing with. So there's a lot of things that go into what we see on the visa bulletin. So there isn't really a one definitive answer to your question, but basically, to simplify it, when at least a month every month is good movement. More than a month is fantastic. Even if it's just a month and a half, even if it's 2 months, 3 months, it's amazing. It's great because it means it's catching up. And if we see consistent movement like this, more catching up rather than either staying the same or not moving at all, that's fantastic news. That's really what we expect. So hopefully I could answer your question. Thank you very much everyone for all your comments and questions today. Hopefully my answers were helpful as always. If you have any follow-up comments, questions, don't hesitate to post them in the comments below. Just don't respond to my comment within your comment. Submit it as a separate comment, because when you respond to my comments in your comment, I don't get the notification for those on this wall. So yeah, but thank you very much for watching. God bless, and I'll see you all in the next video.